So you're a writer, but you haven't been writing, and you tell everybody that you have writer's block. And now, when you think about your book or your story, frustration or fear comes to mind. And you chalk it all up to this mysterious disease that has somehow afflicted you. In this video, I'm going to take you through 5 different roots of what is actually the cause of what people call writer's block and what you can do to fix it. So, writer's block is a term that is thrown around quite a bit. And I think people use this to mean so many different things. They use this to mean, I'm afraid of my project. I've run out of inspiration. I'm discouraged. I found a problem and I don't know how to get past it. But what people seem to have in common when they talk about writer's block is they talk about it as something that has happened to them. Like, I have the flu. Like, it's a disease that can infect you and you have to suffer through until it goes away and leaves you alone. And I think the main problem with the term writer's block is that people allow it to become an excuse for not writing, for not working through their issue. Actually, if you figure out the cause of your writer's block and then take steps to combat it, you can actually get back to your book again and feel satisfied in your writing. Writer's block comes back to a couple different factors that we really can work through. Okay, let's talk about it. Number 1 is life burnout. So, this is when life is taking too much from you for you to actually have creative energy. This is during times of transition, stress, chaos. Sometimes working on your project when you're in this state of mind can really only cause frustration. And so, if you're experiencing some type of life crisis, then it might be time to take a step away from your creative projects and handle life. And that's okay. That doesn't mean that you're not a writer. That doesn't mean that you're not a creative or an artist, but you will be better at that thing if you go and handle the things that are preventing you from actually expressing that part of who you are that is so important. But it's easy to also say, I'll get back to it, and then not get back to it. So that's not what you want. What you may want to do is set a time limit and say, I'm going to step away from this for a month, a week, however long you need to deal with all of the things in your busy life and get them more under control so that you can put more creative energy towards your writing. But set that time limit and try to stick to it and reevaluate when you get there. Do I really just need more time? Or even if life is still a little crazy, have I had the rest that I need to actually sit down and start working on the things that I want to prioritize more? But it seriously is okay to take that life break if you need it, if it's harming your creative project, because there can be times when working on a creative project or forcing yourself to, when you do not have the bandwidth, will lead to more burnout. So that's life burnout. The second source of writer's block is true creative burnout. So this is when your life is okay. Maybe it's busy like all of our lives are, but you're fitting writing in. And maybe even more than just fitting writing in, maybe you've prioritized writing to an insanely high degree for a long time. And you have put your work into books and you've solved these problems and you've made huge progress. And you should feel amazing about that. But you actually just feel kind of exhausted. This is creative burnout. This means you've put too much of yourself out and you don't have much left to give. This can be general or specific. So, this could be general for your creativity. Like, you've exhausted that creative muscle that generates those good ideas that are exciting to you. But then there can be specific, where you have put so much effort into one project and you feel completely drained from working on this project. What could be good here is to take some time away from this project and do something fun, do something that is low stress, something that may not even be for the world to see, but it's just for you, and enjoy your creativity again. And so in this case, it's totally okay to do something that may not be as productive as what you're used to doing. Take some time and enjoy the task again. And then, of course, another fix for this really could just be taking time completely away from creative projects for a little bit and recharging, either deep diving into a new hobby that's not as creative. Or what helps me is, if I've been doing too much output, is to get input, reading or watching TV shows and movies. Basically, take in someone else's creative output and process it. Getting that input of words when you have given too much and you have nothing left to give, that's going to refill the well of words, of ideas, and of inspiration. So for creative burnout, take time away from the project, take time away from output at all, and also make sure to get input. The third source of writer's block is basically emotional discouragement. This is where you've convinced yourself that either you are an imposter, so imposter syndrome, or that your story isn't any good, and that it doesn't have the heart that other people's stories have, this can really come from comparison. It can also just come from you hitting your head against a wall of a problem and just convincing yourself that you can't solve it and you don't know what to do and you're not a good enough writer to write this story. And so this is all emotional, right? These are not things that are true. These are things that you feel and that are basically stopping you from working on the project at all. But if you actually did work on the project, you'd make progress. You just aren't working on the project because you're scared of it. And you're scared of the negative emotions that you will feel if you do work on the project. In this case, I recommend exposure therapy. Put yourself in the path of your book, whether this means rereading your favorite part of it or writing a scene you've always wanted to write but haven't gotten to that is just completely for fun. But basically, what you need to do is suspend your disbelief in your own book. Because right now, you don't believe in your book. You believe that you, as a writer, and your book are not measuring up to whatever standard you had in your head that they should meet. Usually, this happens to me when I take time away from my book, and then I get discouraged, and then I don't want to work on it. I don't want to face those problems that I know are still there because it's a work in progress. Like, if this is not a finished book, this is not published. I just have to work on it, and if I never work on it, it'll never get better. But those negative emotions are stopping me. And so, in this case, you really just have to sit down and decide that you're going to work on your book. If you get deep enough into your book, if you actually work on the things that first excited you about it, but that you just are now doubting, if you really get into those scenes, the rush is going to come back. You just have to get into it. If this is the root of your writer's block, this problem will only grow and grow and grow and may stop you from ever working on your project again. So don't let that happen. The fourth kind of writer's block is when something in the story actually isn't working, when you've gone on the wrong path, where you've written something that you intuitively understand is not the most satisfying way that it could have been done. This is a really, really frustrating state to be in. So in this case, you need to research. You need to figure out what you can do to fix this problem. When I encounter blocks like this, where I am up against a wall, I do not have any better ideas how to do it, but I know that what I have doesn't work, I go back to the basics. So I pick up writing craft books, I pick up a new one, a fresh take, and I concentrate my search on the part of the book that I know is not working and that is causing me to not want to work on my project at all. So reading writing craft books or watching writing craft videos or blog articles on subjects that are pertinent to the problem I'm having often spark a new idea for how to do what I want better. Another thing you can do here is read books in the genre. See how other people handle character motivations or the all is lost moment or the midpoint or whatever you're struggling with. See how other people do it. And that might give you an idea for how to do yours better. And if you're just completely at a loss, like you just have absolutely no idea where to go, try talking to a friend, even a person who doesn't know very much about writing. Bounce the problem off of them and see what they think. See what they would expect as a fix. And even if their ideas don't fix your story completely, they may give you a new direction that actually is a better one than the one you've had before. As writers, we get so stuck in our own heads that sometimes we just can't see the wider picture. So, getting a glimpse of how someone else sees your problem in the story might actually help you break out of it. And number 5, this one is very adjacent to number 4, but basically, this is the block where you have lost interest in your story. And this is because of a problem with the book that you don't know how to solve, but you've read the writing craft resources. You have searched for an answer. You have talked to your friends, and you do not know what the problem with this book is, but it is not clicking, and you have lost interest. In this case, I think there are 2 options. Number 1, you can stick with it. Number 2, you can put it away. If you stick with it, I suggest the chip away method. This is a method that I have coined and that I use to basically tackle every problem in my writing life. If I have an insurmountable problem, avoiding it is the absolute worst thing that I can do. And so, what I will do is I will chip away at the problem. So, day by day, put a little bit of effort, a little bit of energy into it, even if I'm not interested. Even if I am bored by the problem I am trying to solve, if I think this is the only way forward and I want to go forward, then I will pick a very small task and I will accomplish that task knowing that it will take me one tiny step closer to solving my problem. So, chipping away at a huge problem by doing tiny little tasks can keep your brain engaged in the problem for long enough to give you time to actually generate a better idea. And again, this is just don't avoid the problem, just stick with it until something clicks. And only you can make the call of whether you need to stick with your story, whether it's worth it, whether you believe in it enough, or if you think you might need to go the other route. which is okay too. So, shelving a project is a really heartbreaking thing. But if you have hit an absolute wall, you do not have interest in the story, and your creative energy is actually being completely wasted on this project, it might be time to shelve. And this doesn't mean throwing it away. This doesn't mean saying, I will never work on this again. I mean, if you've put countless hours into a project, then saying, I will never work on this again, this just isn't for me, is way too heartbreaking to even consider. But what you might want to consider is saying, I'm going to shelve this project until I am a more skilled writer and may be more capable of tackling this problem. And so in this case, you start something new. So it's okay to shelve a project and to say, I am not the right person right now to be accomplishing this goal. So those are 5 root causes of writer's block. All of these are aimed at doing one thing, keeping you or getting you back to writing, actually making progress and working towards a finished product. Sitting in a state of writer's block is demoralizing. It is so discouraging. You feel like you are not a writer, not a creative, because you can't do what a creative person should be doing, which is creating. But you don't have to sit in the block and accept the block as a state of being for your brain. So I would say, just no matter what you do, take steps so that you can keep writing, even if it's stepping away from a project for a couple weeks to recharge. Diagnose and then take action to get yourself back to your book. Writer's block does not have to be a disease that you resign yourself to. We can work through it, I promise. Give this video a like if you got value out of the content, and also subscribe to my channel to see more writing videos and tips and tricks from me. I also have a Fiverr link down below for developmental edits and book coaching. So check out the link down below if you want me to read your book or give you personalized advice on how to get through your specific creative block. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. Keep writing. Don't let the block stop you from writing. It's way too important for that. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.